Welcome back to How to Use App Inventor 2. This is part 3, and today we're going to be looking at some of the different components, and then we're going to be heading into the blocks editor. Down here are some non-visible components. These are different from normal components because they're not visible, but they're still in use. So how you get them over here is you just drag them over here like any other component, and then they just slide down here. The camera. If you want somebody to be able to take a picture in your app or use the camera, then that's good for that. The player and the sound work good together because the player calls the sound to start. It can also call it to pause or to stop. And again, you put your source, your sound up here, and then you can change the volume. Up here are some visible components. If you want to have a video game type app, then you'll use a canvas and an image sprite. The canvas is like your background for the level, and your image sprite is the character. And over here is where you change the picture. You can change the speed. Also, if you want to, you can change the coordinates. Up here is a video player. It's exact same as the player down here. Of course, except for playing sound, it plays a clip or a movie. And it will play in this square right here. Then you put the source, the video in here, and the volume. Let's head over to the blocks editor. Okay, you'll get all of your blocks from over here on the left hand side. The more generic blocks are over here on the top, and the ones that are specific to the components are down here on the bottom. Over here I made a little example. It says, when the video player is completed, then if the normal player is playing, to set the canvas background color to yellow. What use does this have? Absolutely none. It's just an example. So this bracket right here is called an event handler, and everything inside is called the event. Control is probably the one out of these that you'll use the most, especially this if block, which tells you if something's happened to do something else, which is the most common. You can also do things like open other screens. Over here in logic is where you can turn stuff on and off, like buttons and such. And there's also things that comparisons, like is equal to and or statements that can plug two things together, and then you can hook that up to an if block. The math section is good if you have a game that you want to do scoring with, that you can add or subtract scores. And if you have a calculator app, you can do things like multiply and divide. Also, you can move characters to different coordinates. Text is basically for text boxes. You can put text in here, then do things like trim it and uppercase all of the letters. Lists is more complicated and going to be for more complicated apps. You can do all sorts of things like make lists and add items to lists, and then later recall them. Over here in colors, we used it over here. It's pretty self-explanatory, and then down here you can make your own color. Variables and procedures work together. These are good if you want to use two event handlers that are going to be doing pretty much the same action, or are going to be working together to do the same goal. And down here are all your more designed towards a different component blocks. So set and no set is two different things. If it doesn't say set, that means that you're pretty much just getting it. If it says set, that means you're changing it. Okay, up here we have the backpack, and what this is useful for is I can just drag whatever blocks I want up into the backpack, and then I can go to a different screen. And let's say I have two screens on my app, but a lot of the same coding is going to be used. So then what I can do is I can come over to my backpack and drag out the coding, and so then I don't have to do that all over again. Down here is the trash can, just drag it over. And down here you see yellow and red exclamation points, and that means that there's something wrong with your coding. The reason why it says 3 red is because none of these components exist on screen 2. That's about it for part 3 and wraps up the series. Next we're going to be showing you how to make some different apps. Thanks for watching.